I was standing in my parents' kitchen when my mom looked me dead in the eyes and said, "There was never a college fund for you." And just like that, 18 years of promises vanished. If you've ever trusted someone with your future, only to find out they were quietly rewriting it behind your back, hit subscribe. Because what my grandmother did next, it changed everything. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 22 years old. And until last fall, I believed my parents were the kind of people who sacrificed everything for their kids. Growing up in our quiet Ohio suburb, my dad loved to say, "Don't worry about tuition. We've been saving since the day you were born." My mom would smile and squeeze my shoulder like it was some sacred promise. College wasn't a question in our house. It was a guarantee. Especially because my younger brother, Tyler, wasn't exactly the academic type. He barely passed high school. Football was his world. My world was AP classes, late nights, scholarships, working part-time at the bookstore to help with extras, even though I didn't have to. I trusted them. Completely. Senior year, when acceptance letters started coming in, I got into my dream school. Out of state. Expensive. But I wasn't scared. I remember sitting at the dinner table, waving the envelope, my hands shaking. "It's $46,000 a year," I said carefully. Dad didn't even blink. "That's what the fund is for." The fund. $187,000. That's what they told me was sitting there. Invested. Growing. Waiting. I built my entire future around that number. But 2 months before tuition was due, everything shifted. My parents started acting strange. Closed-door conversations. Tension when I brought up housing deposits. My mom suddenly asking if I'd considered something more affordable. One night, I walked into the living room and heard my dad whisper, "She doesn't need to know the details." The details of what? I should have pushed harder then. But I didn't. Because I trusted them. Because they were my parents. The truth hit me on a Tuesday afternoon. I had just finished my shift at work when I got an email from the university financial office. Payment not received. I thought it was a mistake. I drove home shaking. When I walked into the kitchen, both of them were there. Sitting. Waiting. That email was sent by accident, my mom said too quickly. "Then call them," I said. "Tell them the transfer's coming." That's when my dad's jaw tightened. "Emily, things have changed." Changed. I remember staring at them, my chest burning. What does that mean? Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. "There isn't a fund anymore," my mom whispered. I laughed. I actually laughed. Because it didn't make sense. "That's not funny." "It was used," my dad said flatly. Used. For what? My voice cracked. They looked at each other. And that's when I knew this wasn't an accident. This wasn't a market crash. This wasn't bad timing. It was an investment, Dad said. For the family. The family. Tyler's training academy needed the money, my mom added softly. This is his shot. A real opportunity. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. You gave him my college fund? It wasn't just yours, Dad snapped. We do what's best for the family. I couldn't breathe. 18 years of promises. Gone. Redirected. To my brother's private athletic training program in Florida. You told me it was mine, I whispered. You'll figure something out, my mom said. You're the responsible one. That hurt more than anything. I was responsible. I worked harder. I got the grades. I did everything right. And somehow that made me expendable. I walked upstairs in a fog, sat on my bed, stared at the wall. $187,000. Gone. And that night, as I lay there replaying every conversation we'd ever had about my future, I realized something else. Grandma had asked me a strange question at Sunday dinner a week before. She'd leaned close and whispered, Sweetheart, are you sure your father's still handling that account? At the time, I brushed it off. Now I wondered what she knew. And why my parents looked terrified every time her name came up. I didn't sleep that night. I kept hearing my mom's voice in my head. You're the responsible one. Like that was supposed to comfort me. Like being dependable meant I deserved less. By morning, my chest felt hollow. I skipped work and drove straight to my grandmother's house. My grandma, Margaret Carter, is not the sweet cookie-baking, stay out of it type. She's sharp, observant, the kind of woman who survived raising 3 boys and running a small accounting firm when my grandfather passed. Nothing slips past her. She opened the door before I even knocked twice. One look at my face and she said, "They told you." I didn't even try to pretend. I just nodded. And then I broke. I hadn't cried in front of my parents. I wouldn't give them that. But standing in my grandmother's living room, I felt like I was 8 years old again. "They gave it to Tyler," I whispered. "All of it." Grandma's jaw tightened. Not shocked. Not confused. Angry. "Sit down," she said calmly. Too calmly. We sat at her dining table. She folded her hands like she was about to present evidence in court. "That account was never just your parents' money." I blinked at her. "What?" "I started that fund when you were born," she said. "Your grandfather and I put in the first 20,000. I continued contributing every year. Your parents added some, yes. But the majority of it? That was from me." My stomach twisted. They said it was theirs. Her eyes hardened. Of course they did. She stood up, walked to her office, and came back with a folder. Inside were copies of bank statements, transfer records, signatures. I saw the date. 3 months ago. A withdrawal. $187,000. Transferred into an LLC under my father's name, Tyler Performance Development. It wasn't an investment. It was a full transfer. Clean. Deliberate. "They didn't even tell me," Grandma said quietly. "I found out when I received a tax notice. I felt sick. They stole from you." She looked at me steadily. "They stole from you." That's when it really hit. This wasn't a family decision. It wasn't some desperate mistake. It was planned. They knew I'd be leaving for college soon. They waited until the last possible moment so I'd have no time to react. And suddenly, memories started rearranging themselves in my head. The way my dad avoided eye contact. The way my mom pushed community college out of nowhere. Tyler's sudden Instagram posts from a luxury training facility in Florida, smiling like he'd already won. They didn't believe in me. They believed in him. I pressed my palms against my eyes. What am I supposed to do? Sue my parents? Grandma didn't flinch. If necessary. The word hung in the air like thunder. "I don't want to destroy my family," I said, my voice shaking. She leaned forward. "Emily, they already made that choice." Silence filled the room. Heavy. Real. For the first time since the kitchen confrontation, something shifted inside me. The sadness was still there. The betrayal still burned. But underneath it, something steadier began to form. Anger. Not screaming, throwing things anger. Cold. Focused anger. "They think I'll just accept it," I said slowly. "They think I'll take out loans and keep smiling at Thanksgiving." Grandma's lips curved slightly. "Do you plan to?" I looked down at the documents again. At the signatures. At my father's neat handwriting authorizing the transfer. No hesitation. No shame. "No," I said quietly. And in that moment, I stopped feeling like the victim. Grandma reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "There are conditions attached to that account. Legal conditions. It was structured for educational use. Diverting it elsewhere without beneficiary consent, that opens doors." My heart started beating faster. "What kind of doors?" "The kind that make people very uncomfortable in public," she replied. Public. That word sent a strange rush through me. My parents cared deeply about appearances. Church on Sundays. Charity galas. My dad's position on the local business board. My mom's social circle that thrived on curated perfection. They didn't fear my tears. They feared exposure. I wiped my face and sat up straighter. "What do we need to do?" Grandma smiled for the first time that morning. Not sweet. Strategic. "We gather everything. Every promise. Every statement. And then," she said, her voice steady as steel, "we choose the right moment." For the first time since I read that unpaid tuition email, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Power. They thought they erased my future. They had no idea they'd just given me something else. And I was done being the responsible, quiet daughter. Part 3. The right moment came faster than I expected. 2 weeks later, My parents hosted their annual charity dinner. The big one. 60 guests. Business partners. Church friends. Tyler even flew in from Florida, walking around like he was already a professional athlete. My mom wore her pearl necklace. My dad gave speeches about investing in the next generation. I almost laughed when I heard that line. Grandma and I had been quiet. Too quiet. We gathered everything. The original account documents. Proof of her contributions. The beneficiary clause with my name in bold. The transfer records into Tyler's LLC. And the letter from her attorney outlining misuse of designated educational funds. I didn't want to ruin them. But they had already decided I was disposable. That night, I wore the blue dress my mom bought me for college orientation. The one she assumed I'd never need. When I walked into their house, my dad's smile faltered. He hadn't expected me. Emily, he said carefully, I thought you were staying at Grandma's. I was invited, I replied calm. Grandma insisted. And right on cue, she stepped in behind me. Dinner went on like nothing was wrong. Laughter. Clinking glasses. My mom showing guests photos of Tyler's training facility. It's such an incredible opportunity, she gushed. We're so proud of the investment we made in his future. Investment. Halfway through dessert, my dad stood to make his usual speech. Family is about sacrifice, he said, lifting his glass. About putting resources where they'll make the greatest impact. I felt every pair of eyes on him. Admiring. Respectful. And then Grandma stood up. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Speaking of resources, she said smoothly, perhaps you'd like to explain why Emily's educational trust was emptied without her consent. The room froze. My dad's smile cracked. Margaret, this isn't the time. Oh, I think it is, she interrupted. Since you're discussing family values, you could hear forks hitting plates. My mom's face went pale. This is a misunderstanding. I stood up then. My legs felt steady. Strong. It's not, I said. The $187,000 that was promised for my college tuition was transferred into Tyler Performance Development, LLC. I have the documents. Tyler looked stunned. Wait, what? Dad's voice turned sharp. Emily, sit down. For the first time in my life, I didn't. No, I said quietly. You told me it was for the family. But what you meant was him. And you expected me to stay silent. I held up the folder. This account was structured for educational use. Diverting it violated the terms set by Grandma. There's already legal review underway. Gasps rippled through the room. My dad's business partner leaned forward. Legal review? Grandma nodded. Misuse of designated funds can have serious consequences. Financial. Professional. And there it was. The fear. Not of hurting me. Not of losing me. Of losing their reputation. My mom started crying. We were going to fix it. When? I asked. After I took out loans? After I gave up my dream school. Silence. Tyler looked between us. You told me it was extra money, he muttered to Dad. My father's composure finally shattered. It was a strategic decision. No, I said, my voice steady as glass. It was a choice. And now I'm making mine. Within a week, the money was returned. Every dollar. My dad liquidated part of his retirement portfolio. Tyler's training contract was downsized. The LLC was restructured. Quietly. Quickly. No lawsuit was filed. Because they knew I would win. I still went to my dream school. I moved into that campus with my head high, but something inside me had changed. I don't see my parents the same way anymore. Trust, once broken, never fully heals. We speak. Carefully. Politely. But the illusion is gone. Grandma and I, we're closer than ever. Sometimes people ask if I regret exposing them publicly. I don't. They gambled with my future because they thought I'd accept less. Because I was the responsible one. The quiet one. The easy one. They were wrong. Being responsible doesn't mean being silent. It doesn't mean letting people rewrite your worth. That night wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming what was always mine. And if you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or sacrificed for someone else's comfort, remember this. You don't have to scream to be powerful. Sometimes you just have to stand up. If this story hit home for you, subscribe. Because silence protects the wrong people. And I'm done staying quiet.